Hello everybody and welcome to Teapot Witchery. I'm your host, just me, just Anne. And I'd like to welcome anybody who has migrated over from Podbean. I'm gonna give YouTube a try. I'm not quite sure how this works, so you're all gonna be learning with me. Anyway, this is going to be my podcast where we talk about witchery, crockery, and what the effery that is going on, kind of just in the atmosphere. This originally was a podcast that was created back during the pandemic, just like everybody else. And I think I just put way too much aspirations on myself. I had really, really, really high quality? Well, they are quality. So really high expectations in tackling the hard questions like, oh my god, how can we fix this whole appropriation business? Because let's face it, it's not a monolith, and therefore, I don't got all the answers. You don't got all the answers. But hey, listener, you're on the air, and let's just dive into it. Today's brew is a lovely Sencha Green, I believe, from Costco. I know, I am a fancy lady like that. And it's gotten cold. I should probably refresh this. I don't know. Let me know. Leave a comment, I guess, if you're the type to brew your tea and then forget about it, or brew your tea and you drink it right away. If you do, salute to you. Alright, so this is basically a reintroduction. I'm rebooting the entire podcast to talk about whatever the fuck I want. Whatever the frick I want. There will be some naughty words here and there, some jokes that may not land correctly. I'm only human. I know I'm a voice on your computer or your, iTunes or whatever you're listening to this on, but still human. Still going to talk about magic, though. Well, technically, still talking about the metaphysical community. Whew, that is a mouthful. Let's talk witches, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, no. Let's be more inclusive. Let's talk magic and witches, Theydies and gentlethem. That's what we're starting off with. This is just straight through. I'm just talking into the microphone. No intro, no outro to speak of. I'm recording all of this in one go. So there will be interruptions. There will be wheezing on my end because I am indeed an asthmatic. And a lot of those too. A lot of ums. It's a song that I sing very, very well. And it's because it's a good filler. Just like, they're fillers. Why do we even use those kind of fillers anyway? Is it because we just don't like silence? That's probably a thing. Nobody really likes silence. I shouldn't say nobody. Some of us like silence. Like, after a very overwhelming day, I am so ready for some silence and solace at home. And one of the ways that I protect myself, see, there it is again. You can almost make it like a drinking game. I don't drink, but you could make it a drinking game by take a shot every time I say or anytime I sing my song. I'm going to try to cut it down as time goes on and I get a little bit more comfortable about talking to absolutely nothing while I'm recording to this. I don't know how these other podcasters do it. They just go. Or they have a structured, ordered thing. And that just overwhelms me personally. I'm more of a guideline kind of gal rather than a by the rules kind of gal. I'll leave that to the earth signs. But back to my point. I've felt so overwhelmed. I mean, be it in public, at a concert, which we don't do so much anymore these days, but it's still there, at work, or hanging out with friends, or just going out in public, or even just overwhelmed at home. The thing is, in my experience, a lot of people tend to expend a lot of like free flying energy. So think of it as like electrons. Science people, check me on this one. We have our own electrons circling around us, or, electrons circle an atom, right? So people have their own electrons, and more often than not, they're not very aware that they're flinging them right at everybody and everything. And the more emotional somebody is, they tend to fling it even faster and harder. So it's like a softball to the head. And that was one of the first things that I learned. I was super overwhelmed when I first started my journey into I'm going to call it like the unseen, or science, not science. And my very first foray into it was learning how to protect myself against the loose flying energy that's around me. Because for some of us, when you go to circle, when you go to ritual, when you walk in a grocery store, who knows? You do get bombarded if you're one of those people. I could call you an empath, but I feel like that term's thrown around a lot. Just a lot. I believe that we all are sensible to energy around us, whether we believe it or not, whether we acknowledge it, whether we understand it. We are always surrounded by energy and not always in control of that energy that we project out. It's not so-and-so's fault that they're having a day and their having a day is making you having a day. No, that's on them. For ourselves, though, I learned this wonderful trick of shielding. There's many ways to shield. This is just one of them. And I personally use it as a means to kind of gird myself before going out into the world. Or if I don't feel particularly awesome, just to like ground myself before going out. This is called the pink diamond method, and I'm sure there's literature out there that describes it way better than how I'm going to describe it now, but here we are. The pink diamond method is a visual exercise for myself. So I visualize like the core of myself, the energetic center of my being, and having it expand out. Top, bottom, front, back, right, left, and letting that kind of laser grid spread out into essentially a shield. Now, it doesn't have to be a pink diamond. It could be a purple bubble. It could be a teal octagon, like whatever suits your fancy. Go for it, because why? Energy is energy. And with that energy, you're shielding yourself from all that loose energy from everybody else. Now, it doesn't mean that you're closing yourself off per se and you become a robot, but it means that you're taking care of yourself. And I feel like as a beginner witch, your first foray into things, you're gonna want to protect yourself because it's a whole new ballgame when you get there. And not everybody is going to have your best interest at heart, which is, it's just how things are. It's how things are, not just in the metaphysical community, but like any community you really step into, right? Because you have, the first line of, okay, these are all the people that anyone and everyone has access to. Then you kind of deep dive a little bit more, and then deep dive a little bit more, and next thing you know, you end up in the Indian Ocean. And that's okay. But something that I've personally witnessed is not a lot of people will protect themselves because they want to experience all the things. It's not a race, my friends. It is not a race, and it's not a competition. You can learn all the things. Take it from somebody who tried and got overwhelmed. You can learn all the things and go at your pace and still be a very valid member of this community. Don't let anyone tell you different. If your only spell, big air quotes, is rain, rain, go away, come again another day, then so be it. All of the other stuff is kind of just the sprinkles, or depending on where you stand in the United States, the jimmies of this ice cream. Yeah. Can you tell I'm hungry? I haven't had lunch yet. Because I just had to. I had to sit down and record this and just talk, because I feel like this could potentially be very therapeutic for myself, even if nobody's listening. Because I can say these things out loud. And for me, when I say some things out loud, it clicks a little bit better in my brain. Whether that's, am I neurodivergent? Probably, more than likely, yes. Am I disorganized? Abso-fucking-lutely. I told you there's naughty words. Abso-freaking-lutely, I am very disorganized. And yet, here I am. Once again. I'm torn into pieces. Am I going to be sued by Kelly Clarkson if I just sing her songs badly? What do you think? Other people like grounding or shielding themselves using other methods. So the pink diamond or the energetic shield method is not the only one in the book. Depending on your affiliation, you could feel that kind of protection, that shielding from a piece of jewelry, a t-shirt, a hat, literally anything and everything can, as long as your intention behind it is imbued in that object. For example, some people feel like they're naked without a hat on their head. Take a buddy of mine from my league, for example. I'm in a axe throwing league, and yes, I am the worst scorer on the team, but hey, I have fun, and that's what's important. So one of the guys in my league was talking about, just chatting along, and why he brought his tiny son to practice that night. The little guy is so cute. Goodness gracious. I don't know what it is in my mammalian brain that just goes, baby. And it's like usually the kind of chubby, chunky babies that just sets that off. And this kid, let me tell you, this kid. Anyway, moving right along. So baby's on the side. He's playing with his little toys. And his dad takes off his hat and then lets the baby play with it. Kind of grasp it, throw it around, put it on his head, whatever babies do. Spit up on it, I don't know. I don't have one. I don't know if I'm going to get one. I'll check to see if Costco has any maybe after recording this. But as I'm observing this, because I swear I'm not creepily watching, I just like observing my surroundings. Probably due to the trauma. And yes, I will be talking about trauma. Don't you worry about that. My background is in anthropology, so not psychology. However, I do love reading psychology journals and the latest studies that come out. It's just, I'm a nerd, all right? Just deal with it. So, hat comes off, and he lets his son play with it for a little bit. After a little while, he says, okay, give daddy his hat back. I feel naked without it. I'm sure we all have come across a person like that. They feel naked without X, Y, or Z. We don't think about it, but that's kind of inherent magic that we imbue into everyday objects. I think it's fascinating that some cultures treat magic, the metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, as part of the everyday fabric. It's just something that you do. You don't think twice about it. Whereas others separate it into its own entity. And it is something that I've struggled in the past. Especially with, going through all the different modalities there are out there. It's been very, very fascinating going through each and every single one of them. So, would you call that somebody who just likes wearing hats? Or would you call that somebody who feels protected when they have their hat? something to noodle on. There are people that, I have a couple of friends in the metaphysical community who cannot leave the house without some kind of crystal nestled up in their bubbies. And you know what? Those bras make amazing pockets. I'm just letting you all know right now. And there are some people that they walk around and they clack a lot, and I just have to ask them, how many rocks are you hiding in there? And it's the usual suspects, you know, your darker elements such as obsidian, jet, tourmaline. I am a big fan of tourmaline. There's a chunk hidden in every room of my own abode. What else is there? I also personally love garnet. I purchased a piece from, I'm going to get their name. If I remember their name, I'll put it in the description below, and you can reach out to them. They're a fantastic and incredibly talented artist. They created this acrylic, I think it's, or no, resin, it's resin. It's a resin pendant with gold flakes, with garnet pieces in it, and I'll tell you what, that really just settled me. I went to a symposium. Actually, I went to the Northwest Tarot Symposium, or Newts. Shout out to the Newts crew. And I wore that. I wore a sterling silver ring that I bought in Dublin, Ireland, and I wore a bracelet made out of agar wood. Now, I kind of went big because my experience at such events is that, you know, a lot of loose energy. Pink diamond ain't gonna cut it. Not all the time. So, you know, I came in wearing like 5 raincoats. It's fine. It's fine. We're all fine. It looks great. But it turns out that it was perfect to be able to keep my feet on the ground as I'm going through the entire convention. And, you know, I have to say, I'm gonna credit the agarwood bracelet, the garnet pendant, and, you know, the silver ring, and say that those were what I wore to. Those were my hats that I wanted to wear to go in and feel grounded. Everybody has their own thing. Jewelry, rocks. Some people prefer scents. For me, it doesn't make that much sense. Get it? I think I'm funny. Some people say that there are scents that they feel protected with. And that's fine, and that's amazing. That's, hey, do you. No one's going to judge you for that. However, one little caveat for those of you who are very sensible. I should have warned you in the beginning, like, I do a lot of dad jokes, and that's because your girl loves dad jokes. Please, 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 do not substitute using scent as a shield instead of bathing. Listen, I've been to one too many conventions where patchouli oil was the scent of choice to mask any, let's say, less than pleasant odors out there. Nothing wrong with patchouli, just I think after a certain point, my nose is burnt out of that scent, and it just unlocks a core memory. I think that and Palo Santo, definitely, Palo Santo, that and white sage. Burning white sage absolutely releases core memories, and that's super helpful sometimes. My point is, please do not bathe yourself in this scent. I am a millennial. During my middle school years, we had Axe body spray premiere, and the guys were bathing in it. Like, you can tell a gaggle of dudes were on their way over, probably like a mile away. Why? Because they have that scented cloud of Axe body spray around them. So do yourself, do everybody else a favor. Use scents sparingly, if you can. Besides, I believe magical oils are not that cheap of a commodity, so using it sparingly would be helpful. I've used it before, and what I did was just a little bit. I'll dab on the inside of my wrists, I'll dab behind my ears, I'll dab one on my heart and on my throat, just to, cover all my bases. And it's worked fine. It's just shield. It's yet another shielding technique. So really, my intention behind any of these tools is the same. Like, hey, object, please protect me. Just for the time being, please make sure my brain has armor on it so that I don't leave this event feeling la la loopsy or so checked out of this physical world that I'm going to need a little bit of extra help coming back in. Let's see. I think that's a good first lesson. Not that I'm teaching lessons on this channel. I'm reflecting on the lessons I've learned over the years and kind of giving it a perspective. Because when you talk to me at the time being, like at the time, I'm not going to tell you, oh, anything it can be No, because I didn't know any better. Now, as I'm looking back, as I'm observing more, I'm understanding how certain concepts like shielding goes across so many different cultures. I guess that's it for today. Why don't I just draw a card? I'll just draw a card. If you are listening or watching this on YouTube and you're familiar with me, I do card deck reviews whenever I remember. I don't always remember, but sometimes I do. And I am going to reach for, this is the Lion's Gateway Tarot. You can find it on Etsy. The artist is Jessica Lee Henry. Like I said, I did a very quick, 10-minute video not too long ago talking about, all the goods about it, how it shuffles, how it looks, how it feels, the art, etc. Can you tell I studied art for just a tiny bit? I really am the Jill of so many trades, and I am the master of nearly negative none. So you're gonna hear random drops here and there, and if you ask me where I learned that, I'm going to respond with, I have no clue. It's just somewhere in there. I also make a lot of Disney references and pop culture references. If you've had a reading with me before, you know that I do the pop culture references and I do the cursey words. Let's see what we got here. And I've been shuffling this whole time. Side note, for our neuro-spicy friends out there, you know what's a great fidget spinner? Shuffling a card deck. Keep an oracle deck that's very innocuous by your desk at work or something, if you have a desk, or in your locker, and on your break you can just reach for it and just shuffle it through, just to get that excess energy out of you. And hey, who knows, it might even add to your reading later on. That's probably, I don't know if this microphone will pick it up, but that's the sound in the background. Maybe one of these days I'll do an ASMR of deck shuffling and lay out cards for a reading. Wouldn't that be a trip? Alrighty. So wherever you are, night and day, whatever time it is, whatever day it is, if you're listening to this, well, let's see if this card will resonate with you at all in the next whatever. Woo! Today we pulled the Ten of Swords. Now, I find this interesting because of what I've learned over the years. I used to be incredibly intimidated by tarot, and I'm going to save that for the next podcast. But for the Ten of Swords, I've seen different iterations of it that help me understand it a little bit better. I also studied with a couple of very, very talented and amazing tarot readers who helped make 78 cards not that scary. I also have books to recommend, but like I said, I'll save all that tarot talk for a different podcast. For now, let's play with the Ten of Swords. And I feel like this is definitely relevant to what I was just talking about. That overwhelm, that like buzzing of bees in your head. It's it's enough to drive anybody batty, honestly. And you know, what's keeping you pinned down? Because if we're taking the imagery from the Rider-Waite-Smith card, then we have a person on the ground stabbed quite a number of times with swords. Could be Julius Caesar. Who knows? Does anyone see Brutus in the card and has he run off? Nobody knows. Either way, we can't tell if this person is resting or being forced to be at rest. So what do you think? What do you feel? What comes to mind when you see or hear the Ten of Swords? And what you feel and see in that, I want you to take that and apply it to the card and